Hey everybody, Goosebumps for Dummies here, and today we are going to be reviewing Ship. Because there's not a lot of ghouls in this one. Here, I'll make up for it. So here's your little bit of ghoul for the video. And now back to our regularly scheduled program. Ship of Ghouls is one of those books where it's like, it's not very accurate to the title. There's no ghouls in this book at all. There's not even a ghost. Nothing like an apparition, really. It's actually about sea creatures, which makes more sense, but just not accurate to the title. But no less, this is our Blacksplaining review of the month, and it's thematically on point. It's summer, it's July. Let's do a watery themed book, and here we are. Yeah, let's dive in. And now for the blurb. You cruise, you lose. I don't know whether to love that or hate it. You're on a 2-week cruise to Japan with a friend, and no parents. Party. This should be a total blast if you can survive the deadliest cruise ever. A man on board claims the ship is really a laboratory for evil experiments. Experiments that turn passengers into gross fish creatures. Now the man is planning to blow up the ship. Should you warn the captain or hit the water? If you stay on board, will you be turned into a giant shrimp? If you jump overboard, will you be able to survive the killer sharks? The choice is yours in this scary Goosebumps adventure with back to over 20 super spooky endings. Fuck my voice. Ship of Ghouls. It's a pretty one. Really good cover. I'm not huge on it. I don't really dislike it. In fact, I've been dunking on a lot of GYGs as of late. Of the past few, this is probably the best one. But not by a lot. This one's just, eh. This book kind of feels like an out-of-genre moment for Goosebumps, especially in one particular set of scenes, or half an arc. The Stranded at Sea arc, as I have dubbed it. This arc, or part of it, the second half islands, which aren't bad, but not my favorite part of the arc, clearly, is really good. It's very, like I said, out of genre for Goosebumps, because it doesn't really hone down on the horror quite a lot. There's mentions of a ghost, which, no, there actually isn't. We'll get to that in literally a few seconds. And I quite liked that arc, because it was super dark, and it was very tense in a way that didn't just rely on monsters. It relied on the actual sea itself, and the threat of dying. And you were on there for quite a while, if you go down certain paths, like, could be a month. Yeah, of course, it wasn't an agonizingly long thing. There was a lot of jumps to different days, but it's just, like, pretty good. Like, that's really good stuff for Goosebumps. Whoever actually wrote this, because it's not Stine. But, there's also this other thing in the arc known as Steve. A character. He was the ghost. And he isn't actually a ghost. He was, well, let's just say his character is one of the darkest I've ever seen for a plot twist villain character. Steve, you thought he was an ally, he was a pretty cool dude. He was killing people on this raft that you were on, and you didn't even know it. And he's working potentially with a tribe if you go down a certain path. And it's just like, what the fuck? That's really messed up. The implications, at least, that he was killing these people by throwing them overboard. Potentially. Most likely, without a doubt. You're not surviving that sea, man. It's probably as cold as the Titanic water. You know what I'm saying? Awful. Really awesome twist there, but really worked. It's just super morbid and dark. And let alone that whole arc has this atmosphere that is generally dark and morbid. And I quite liked it. It's easily the better of the two arcs. Even if I did like some things about the other arc. The cruise arc, where you stay on board. There's some elements in here that are very unique. Let's just say there's some body horror involving human fish creatures. Kind of like to the Deep Trouble episode that was more closely about Deep Trouble 2. There's some human slice with fish stuff, and one particular moment involves crabs, or lobsters, or shrimp. They all kind of blend for me. I'm not huge on animals. That was gross. So it's a very gross scene, and I believe it actually was lobsters. You had to boil them with, like, hot steam from a hot pipe. And it was just a really good moment. There's some other instances of good body horror, like a half-shark person. The only shark in this book, from what I remember, I believe. And, yeah, it's really good. Really good stuff. There's also, along with that, a very interesting turn that I want to say it right now for anyone comments. This was in 1999. 2 years before the tragedy. There's a terrorist in this book. Not huge thing, but it's like, okay, that's a pretty huge thing for Goosebumps to have a frickin' terrorist. Yeah, the ship can blow up too. There's an ending or two, I believe, where it actually fucking explodes, and that's cool and crazy, and I quite like that. I like the jumps here, and the whole idea of human experimentation. It's dark, and there's some, for my final upside, there's some genuinely decent endings in here, arguably great, but are exceptionally dark. Such as the one where, I got this one pretty early on, you're just locked in a room until you die. That's so straightforward, but it's really dark. It reminds me of the Cannon ending, where you get shot out of a cannon from an earlier GYG. If you know, you know. That's a really, really dramatically dark ending, I feel. There's also another particular ending of a good handful, where you find treasure, and basically you don't make it out of the cave where you find said treasure. For a very long time. Very dark ending. Loved it. But yeah, I didn't love this book overall just because it had some things kind of weighing it down, making it sink almost. This isn't an issue, but none of the endings end with the word Finn. I know, it's shocking. There's not a single ending where it just says Finn. It says N every single one, just end. Why didn't you jump at our opportunity, Ghostwriter? That would have been fucking gold. It makes perfect sense, too. This is an aquatic fiend book. Come on! There's multiple endings where you get killed by sea creatures. There's an ending where you get killed by the shark dude. And I think a killer whale. It's like, dude, you could have easily fucking done that. But no. Not an issue, just a nitpick. I thought I'd bring it up. It's really funny. But now for actual issues. The Scientist's Cruise arc. It's tropey, it's boring, and it's very repetitive. You're just running around, being chased or fighting off or dealing with, in general, these humanoid sea creatures. And there's good elements there, like the body horrors, a few good scenes, and some darker implications and ideas, but overall, it was really boring to me and flat out bland with how tropey it felt with the mad scientist thing, because it's a trope in itself. GYGs really love to have mad scientists in there. There's a scene in Shop Till Drop Dead, sound British there for a second, bit all in it, where there's a mad scientist, and it just utterly didn't fit. That's my least favorite part of that book. I thought it was just not good. Imagine that, but with a lot more action, some good body horror, but for like half of the book. Not much better. Yeah, not big on that arc, even if it has its good things. And now to the other arc, actually, but I was glazing earlier. The second half of it devolves into islands. And sure, there's some good ideas in there. You get the Steve reveal, you got some really good endings like the treasure ending, but it just didn't jive with it, you know? It felt like it shouldn't have been right after such a great part, and it felt really meh in comparison to what just happened beforehand. And whilst, again, there's good elements, I just didn't like it as much. And in general, standalone little bit of the book, it's not something I'm huge on. I think there could have been a lot of improvements there. Now for my last issue, endings. Yeah, I already glazed a few endings, but I'd say a good 80% of the endings here, 85 maybe, are endings I'm just not fond of. There's not a lot of very good standout endings. They're all really meh at the end of the day, and that's depressing. I want an ending that'll stick with me, and there's a good 2 or 3 in here that I'm like, oh yeah, those are good endings. But I can't really remember any other past that, especially after you even put down the book. You just kind of forget a lot of them. Or rather, you might even remember some of the stinky stingers of endings that aren't good. You never know. But yeah, I just wish there was a more abundance of good endings. And yeah, let's now get to my rating. I give Ship of Ghouls a flat 6 out of 10. Sorry, Ship of Ghouls, you're not amazing, but you're not bad at all. Wouldn't recommend this one lightly, but hey, maybe, if you're really looking for something out there for Goosebumps, check out the Lost at Sea arc. That's a pretty interesting one. Hope you guys enjoyed this book review. Hope you guys liked the new setup, I guess. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.